Hey there, Bible buddies. I've got another Bible review for you today, and this one is a Zondervan. So I know I don't do Zondervans very often, but that's because they don't come up very often. And usually when they do, people kind of know what they have, so they charge quite a bit for them. And I don't know if I've told you guys this before, but I tend to keep my Bible purchases, especially for like vintage ones, and this is getting harder and harder to do, but I try and keep them like under $20 or around the $20 mark. Yes, I have a lot of them, but I don't spend very much, and I don't have any other vices. I don't drink coffee. I don't play video games. I don't really do much except for except for vintage Bibles. So my money tends to go here. And that being said, I was able to find this one for a steal, but that's typically not the case for Zondervan Bibles. Again, people tend to know what they have, and they charge a premium for Zondervan Bibles because they were very nice. They are still very nice, the premium lines, but certainly their vintage stuff was very nice as well. So we'll go ahead and take a look at this one. This is a brown calfskin leather, and you can see that wonderful, nice, smooth grain. It's a very fine grain and very smooth. Not like gonna, I don't know, it might slip out of your hands. It's a very smooth texture. It's not very tactile at all. There's a little perimeter line there around the edge, and it's very well done. You can see at some point that somebody rested their coffee on it. And I don't know if this is a one-time deal, maybe just a really hot cup of coffee, or maybe they set the cup of coffee there, and then that was the last time they picked up their cup of coffee. Hopefully not. I don't know. But either way, at some point there was a cup of coffee resting on here. On the spine, we can see it says Holy Bible, Concordance, then Red Letter Edition, and Zondervan. And there are some, kind of spine hub indications there. And I like this. Like, there's spine hub indications, like tactile, you can feel it. But then they also did this double gilt line on each one. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. The perimeter line does continue on the top and bottom to the back. And that wonderful grain again, very smooth, very nice. Nicely well done. Just a wonderful grain. Wonderful leather. Excellent leather. Beautiful brown. Nice chocolatey brown. Makes me hungry. On the inside, there's some wonderful corner work there, nice and tight. It is edge lined, and it does say leather lined here, so we have an indication that it is real calfskin, and it does say leather lined. So I'm assuming it is a leather, and it does, yes, feel like a leather, and you can kind of see some maybe see some little creases there when I bend it. But yeah, it's a very nice soft leather, and then it is a synthetic on the other side, a brown synthetic material, and you do have that wonderful gilt line, and the nice corner work there. But yeah, I love that gilt line. You don't see that very often. Really, I wonder who the first one was. I wonder if it was Zondervan. Either way, you don't see it very often. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Oh, wait, nope, I forgot. My exterior features. Look at me. All right, so you have some nice, looks like black or very dark brown and yellow head and tail band. And you do have a gold gilt there. I don't know if it's actual gold. It doesn't look like actual gold, but it's nicely done either way. Then you have one single, very long brown ribbon, and it is a single-sided brown ribbon, but it's very nicely done. Nicely cut. Very long. You don't see that very often either. They tend to break after a while, or maybe they're just kind of cut short from the get-go. We have a kind of a blank sheet there. Second blank sheet. Our presentation page. Look at that, very fancily done. Nice little design elements there. Nice little font chosen. Very indicative of the era. I don't let you guys see the birth certificate page or marriage certificate page there. And we have a birth page on the opposite side. And then Marriages and Deaths, our title page, the Holy Bible by Iron Spottiswood, love it. My favorite producers, they did a wonderful job. And there's some information on it. It does say India paper there. I had somebody ask me recently. They were trying to figure out if their Bible was India paper or not. As a go-to, unless it's indicated, I don't venture a guess. I mean, every once in a while, the paper is like very obviously India paper, but sometimes, like in this case, like it says India paper, but it doesn't. I mean, this doesn't seem to me like what I remember, like 1950s India paper as being. So I try not to venture a guess unless it's specifically stated, because I don't want to overstep, right? If it's not really India paper. But this one does say India paper. It's got the item number there. Then it says Clearblack type, which is the font. It is pronouncing and does have references. Printed in England by Iron Spottiswood. Her Majesty's printers, London. And here's your epistle dedicatory on the opposite side there. And the continuation of the epistle dedicatory there. Then we have our table of signs used in this book. We'll continue on. Oh, I'm flipping. This might be India paper. I mean, well, obviously it's indicated India paper, but it's very thin, which is funny because the Bible itself isn't particularly thin, but the paper feels very thin. Then we have our table of contents in the first book of Moses called Genesis. We'll go ahead and take a look here. Chapter 1. Wonderful layout there. And it's kind of the king standard, or I guess in this case the queen standard of double column verse by verse. We'll flip a little ways into it. It doesn't appear to have overcast stitching. So we'll just go a little ways into it. We see here that we have our book and chapter indicators up in the top outer corners. Then we have our running headers in the top gutter. We have our page numbers in the bottom outer corners. Then we have chapter indicators along the way and a double line drop cap throughout. They are using Pilcra markers to indicate the beginning of a new paragraph. You can see some cross references there. I'll show you some examples. That was more on the other page. Yeah, lovely layout. I've always been a fan of double column verse by verse. So timeless, you know. Let's go to Psalm 119. So we can see in Psalm 119 that they are running the Hebrew letters and the transliterations of them. We can see some of that paper and the show through there. It's minimal. Not the best I've seen out of India paper, but certainly this is no slouch. And I feel like in this era, this is where they were getting away from the India paper. So this is certainly good for the era. Very nice paper though. A nice yellow color to it. It's fairly tactile, the paper. It doesn't feel like smooth or anything. It almost has kind of maybe like a semi-chalky feel, a little bit of a chalky feel, but not bad. Not like some of the old world papers were pretty bad. Had like a real chalky feel to them. Not quite that bad. Enough to give you grip, right? Makes it to where it's easy to turn. Yeah. We have Malachi, the end of the prophets there. We have our New Testament title page with the indication that it's the red letter. Gospel according to Matthew. Turn a few pages in. Get to that wonderful red letter. And this is very much the red of the era. You can see it as a very vibrant red. This is just like about as red as it gets for a red letter from back in the day. Let me go ahead and zoom in so you guys can see. It almost kind of tints the paper pink because there's so much red ink on it. But it is very red. Not my favorite red for sure. Go ahead and flip to the end. See if there's any helps. Looks like there's a good bit of them. There's Revelation 22. There we go. The Bible, its contents, with an introduction to the books of the Old Testament and the New, and of the Apocrypha. Well, it's got everything in there. Goodness. Apocrypha is not included in this edition, but I guess there's some notes on it. There's a little article there. And there's quite a bit of helps. Look at that. It's a good size. I'm going to probably struggle to flip through some of these pages because it's a little, again, this paper is fairly thin. That might be why the Bible is the size that it is. There's a good bit of helps, but the paper's thin, which is why it's about the same size as a normal Bible. So here we have kind of like breakdowns of the books and some little summaries here, different parts of the books. We'll flip through that. Some information there. Good information. And then we get to the concordance to the Old and New Testaments. I'll give you guys a look. See some entries. And it's a pretty good size. I would imagine that's the remainder of everything is the concordance. There's a little loose sheet here, I guess, to keep the... sometimes with these color pages and older editions, the color might transfer to the previous page. I would imagine that's what this kind of clear sheet here is, just to prevent that. But I left it in there for whoever buys this Bible next. So full color maps, which is excellent, especially from this time period. Beautiful full color maps, and they're on a matte, kind of a thicker paper here, but it's a matte finish paper, so it makes them very easy to use. And if you wanted to make any notes, very easy to make notes on, instead of that high gloss paper that some manufacturers are using nowadays that make it so hard to deal with. Wonderful, wonderful maps. Look at that. Beautiful maps. Very colorful. Then at the end here, we have a little item number. Show you guys that. And that's it. Just a couple blank sheets. And the cardstock, the flyleaf, and that's it. Beautiful edition. right? The King James Version, if double column verse by verse is your thing, this is one to grab. Give you the measurements. This comes in at 7.5 inches tall by 5 1/8 inches wide, and 1 1/4 inches thick. Let's go ahead and look at the fonts. So the uppercase comes in at about an 8.5 point font versus Times New Roman. And the lowercase, let me get a different letter here, something easier to work with. Lowercase is a little bit bigger, about a 9 point font versus Times New Roman. So again, I always go with the lowercase because there's more of them. So I'd say a 9 point font versus Times New Roman for this edition, this Zondervan King James Version. Very nice edition. Love this leather. Even with the coffee ring, that's okay. Gives it a little bit of character. Somebody was enjoying their morning brew while perusing God's Word. That's always cool. But yeah, certainly a nice edition. Again, if you guys, go bouncing around on eBay, you should be able to find some Zondervans pretty easily. Although again, they're going to command a higher price point, just given the kind of the quality of them, the leather selection, paper selection, that kind of thing. They're a nicer Bible overall. But I will say one thing that I've noticed with Zondervan Bibles, they tend to be beat up pretty often, pretty regularly. So make sure that you're checking your pictures very closely to make sure that you're getting what you're paying for and what you're expecting. And typically you tend to see the bottoms the tops and the bottoms are always beat up fairly well. Like this one, you can see they're kind of worn a little bit. And usually I see them worse than this. So just some things to pay attention to if you're looking for one. Bible buddies, until next time, bye.